Are you dealing with the snow? Do you know this story? You spent hours digging out of the prime parking spot you have, but eventually you have to leave. What happens then? Many are resorting to putting lawn chairs or garbage cans down as space savers, but is that legal? With us now, Legal Eagles Dan Shore and Wendy Patrick. Dan, what is going on here? What do you think? Is it legal?
Well, there's a legal debate and there's a moral debate. Legally, you have no right, obviously, to the parking spot that you dug out. But morally, if you see someone dig it out and then you take their spot when they move away for a few minutes, it's not a nice thing to do.
I've got to play some sound here from a woman who was ticked off about this whole thing. Listen to her. Staten Island.
I said, look, I broke my butt out here for hours cleaning this spot, and you just came along. And they go, I'm sorry, it's only a few minutes. A few minutes turns out to 45 minutes or an hour.
45 minutes or an hour. Wendy, to you. Well, what's the right thing here?
You cleared it, you claim it. Shoveling snow is hard work. Take it from me in San Diego. And these residents have a right to enjoy the fruit of their labor. Now, while it is true that you can't fight this battle in a court of law, you can fight it in a court of public opinion. Because remember, that is patrolled by the PC police. So what do? In public shaming wise, you go out, you take a photo, you put it on the internet, and you brand the offender with a scarlet P for parking thief.
Oh, I love that. Okay, you have to hear this tweet from Mayor Marty Walsh in Boston. Here's what he tweeted. Space saver removal will begin Monday. Be respectful of your neighbors and their property during this process. This whole thing makes me laugh. Dan, is an unwritten law about snow removal enforceable?
It's not enforceable by the law, but I agree. You need some moral shaming. If someone takes another person's spot after they shoveled it all out, other people should say something. It's the same situation as in the subway. A pregnant woman walks in and someone takes the last seat right before she sits down. It's rude. It's obnoxious.
People get mad.
But it's not legally offensive.
Okay, I've got to show you something else here. And this is from Craigslist. And somebody wrote on Craigslist that they were putting the snow back on top of a car that parked in their space. Because they had removed all the snow, right? They cleaned it all up, made it pretty, and then somebody parked in their space, so they just loaded all the snow right back on that car. Wendy, that's just desserts, isn't it?
You know, I read all about that, and the way I see it is now you're shoveling the snow twice, and you still don't have a place to park. So after you've done both, if you've shoveled it 2 times, you may have to shovel it a 3rd time if the person that parked there is going to be unable to move their car without you doing so. Though, as funny as that is.
Point. You do. How about the guy who put one of those Vermont teddy bears in this space and kind of beat it up and said, I did this to a Vermont teddy bear. If you park here, wait till you see what I do to you.
I would be afraid to park there if I saw that Vermont teddy bear there. So it might work.
It might work. All right.
It might not be legally enforceable, but it might work.
So, Wendy, what can you do to keep that space? Anything? I mean, there's public shaming. You know what I find is that in a neighborhood, you know, neighbors watch out for neighbors. And they'll walk over
so
and they'll tell you, like, you know, my neighbor parks there and you better not do that.
That's a great point, Jerry. You know what happens, though, is sometimes a neighbor has other people coming over and the nice, clean space in front of your house turns into a park and ride where you get people parking there that don't live in your neighborhood, that aren't visiting anybody in your neighborhood. And the irony here is we're trying to enforce civility. Sometimes we end up doing it by criminality, right? Vandalism, assault, threats, battery.
That's a good point.
This is what's resulted from the problems caused by the space stealers.
Dan, last word.
Look, we should make sure that people don't take other people's spots. We don't want the police dealing with this. They have plenty of other things to deal with. So it's not it's not a legal issue here.
Real crimes,
exactly.
right?
It's not a legal issue, but let's not take other people's parking spots. Not the right thing to do.
Okay, leave it to the PC, please.
And those are the neighbors. They'll get you. You'll rue the day you parked in that space. Dan and Wendy, thanks for coming on.